Most people will live and die in quiet frustration. They will wake up to alarms they hate, rush to jobs they loathe, and come home to lives they never chose. They will scroll past success like a movie trailer they're never cast in, watching others live the life they once dreamed of. And in the silence of the night, they'll whisper to themselves, maybe it just wasn't meant for me. But that's a lie. Because the truth is, life was never random. It's not a lottery. It's a mirror. And most people fail, not because they lack intelligence, talent, or opportunity, but because they never learned how to take control of the one battlefield that truly matters, the mind. 97% of people are stuck in survival mode. Drifting. Reacting. Wishing. The other 3%. They built the life they wanted by mastering something the rest ignore. They think differently. They move differently. They wake up with intention. They suffer with purpose. They're not waiting for motivation. They've trained their minds like warriors preparing for war. If you've ever wondered why you're stuck, why your goals slip through your fingers like smoke, it's not fate, and it's not bad luck. It's mindset. It's clarity. It's discipline. Success is not a secret. It's a system. A language. A rhythm. And once you learn it, the world will never look the same again. Think of this. When Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times trying to invent the light bulb, the world called him foolish. But Edison wasn't chasing approval, he was chasing clarity. He wasn't afraid of failure, because failure wasn't failure to him. It was information. A necessary step. Every setback was another brick in the foundation of something immortal. That's the mindset of the 3%. Where others see a wall, they see a door waiting to be carved. Where others see delay, they see divine preparation. So let me ask you, what story have you been telling yourself? That you're not good enough, that success is for other people. That you'll try, someday. Because someday is the graveyard of dreams. The truth is, most people fail because they never decide. They never choose. They drift through life like leaves in the wind, blown around by other people's opinions, societal pressure, and invisible chains of self-doubt. But the top 3%, they made a decision. A real one. The kind that burns the ships behind them and forces them to either conquer or perish. Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate who built one of the greatest fortunes in history, wasn't born into privilege. He grew up in poverty, working as a bobbin boy for $1.20 a week. But he had something most never find, definiteness of purpose. He decided that he would rise, and once he made that decision, the universe had no choice but to get out of his way. The same law is available to you. But decision alone isn't enough. Because clarity without discipline is just daydreaming. You must train your thoughts like a sculptor chisels marble, deliberate, daily, and without mercy for the old version of you. This is where 97% fall. They start. But they don't stay. They want it. But not enough to bleed for it. They dream big, but act small. They consume motivation but never convert it to movement. They know what they want. But they never get clear on who they need to become to earn it. Listen to me now, the world doesn't give you what you want, it gives you who you are. If your identity says, I'm lazy, then even with the perfect plan, you will sabotage yourself. If your identity says, I'm inconsistent, then your goals will never outpace your doubts. This is why the 3% focus more on who they are becoming than what they are doing. Their outer world is a reflection of their inner engineering. Walt Disney was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. Imagine that. The man who created an empire of dreams was told he couldn't dream well enough. But he didn't let that label define him. He believed in a vision no one else could see, and that belief made him unstoppable. That's not luck. That's clarity. That's self-authority. That's burning belief when no one claps for you yet. That is the DNA of the 3%. Let's be clear, Failure is not the enemy. Comfort is. Procrastination is. Delusion is. And the most dangerous delusion is thinking you have more time than you do. Your life is a sand timer flipped upside down. Every second that slips through is one you never get back. So the question is not, what are you waiting for? It's, how much longer are you willing to lie to yourself? The clock is ticking. Not just on your goals, but on your soul. Because every day you choose comfort over growth, you're feeding the 97%. Every time you say, tomorrow, you're voting for the old you. Every time you hide behind distraction, you're burying the life that was trying to be born inside you. But here's the raw truth, you can't outrun the work. You can't visualize success and avoid discipline. You can't dream of wealth and wake up late. You can't say you want greatness while living like mediocrity is acceptable. That's why the 3% are different. They understand that success is not an event. It's a process. It's a lonely, quiet war behind the scenes that no one sees and everyone underestimates. They rise when others sleep. They work when others doubt. They study when others scroll. They sacrifice what is comfortable for what is worth it. They build habits like fortresses. They know that if you can control the first hour of your day, you can control your destiny. The way you start sets the tone for how you finish. That's why you must win the morning. Not for productivity, but for identity. When you rise early, when you show up even when no one is watching, when you keep promises to yourself, you tell your subconscious mind, I am the kind of person who gets things done. I am the kind of person who deserves success. And the universe responds to that. Not your intentions, not your affirmations, your actions. Think about Henry Ford. He wasn't born with a silver spoon. He didn't come from money. But he had vision. He had hunger. He had a burning desire to change transportation forever. People told him it was impossible. His first 2 car companies failed. But failure wasn't the end, it was the forge. Ford didn't build a car. He built belief. And belief, when backed by relentless effort, bends reality. You want to join the 3%? Then write this on your soul, belief is not just feeling good about yourself, belief is the weapon you use when the world says no. Because it will say no. You will be tested. You will be laughed at. You will be ignored, doubted, and misunderstood. Good. That's the fire that separates the real from the wishful. Let them doubt you. Let them sleep on you. Let them say you've changed. Because you should change. The 3% evolve constantly. They shed their old skin like a snake that refuses to stay small. They know that who you were yesterday is irrelevant, only who you are becoming matters. And becoming requires discomfort. If you feel uncertain, if you feel lost, if you feel like everything is falling apart, good. That's how every transformation begins. A caterpillar doesn't just grow wings. It dissolves inside the cocoon. It breaks down into nothing so it can be rebuilt into something greater. That's the price. That's the process. And most people run from it. They run back to average. Back to the familiar. Back to the crowd. But the 3%? They walk through that fire until their old limits are ashes. You want to know what the 3% really do differently? They expect the struggle. They welcome the resistance. Because they know that pressure creates diamonds, and pressure is the privilege of those chasing greatness. Let that sink in. If it's hard, it means you're on the right path. If it's uncomfortable, it means you're growing. That's the paradox most never understand. They pray for ease but worship growth. They want transformation without tension. But nature doesn't work that way. The tallest trees grow in storms. The sharpest blades are forged in flame. The strongest souls are built in silence. And while 97% look for shortcuts, hacks, and loopholes, the 3% do the boring, unsexy, invisible work, over and over and over again, until excellence is no longer an act, but a habit embedded in their DNA. Let me ask you something: what if you stopped negotiating with your goals? What if you stopped lowering the bar to meet your feelings, and started raising your feelings to meet the standard? What if you treated your mission like it was life or death? Because it is. You were not born just to survive. You were born to build. To conquer. To become a living, breathing testament of what's possible when belief meets discipline. There is power inside you that's been buried beneath excuses, delays, distractions, and stories that were never even yours to begin with. You don't need to find yourself. You need to build yourself. One brick at a time. One morning at a time. One hard decision at a time. Because here's the secret: the 3% don't have more time, talent, or luck. They have more clarity, more conviction, and more consistency. They act when they don't feel like it. They show up when the motivation is gone. They say no to what is easy, and yes to what is necessary. And slowly, invisibly, powerfully, they build a life others call impossible. They build a life others call lucky. But luck has nothing to do with it. Luck is the label the 97% put on discipline they never chose. Luck is how the average explain away excellence they never pursued. What they call luck, the 3% call sacrifice. What they call talent, the 3% call training. What they call natural, the 3% call non-negotiable standards. There is no mystery here. Examine every titan: Carnegie, Edison, Ford, Jobs, Oprah, Disney, Mandela, and you'll find one consistent thread: they bet everything on a clear vision, and they backed it with unshakable discipline. They weren't born gods. They became giants by mastering the small things the rest of the world ignores. The 97% want magic. The 3% build systems. The 97% chase motivation. The 3% build rituals. The 97% want results. The 3% fall in love with the process. And that process is not glamorous. It's early mornings when your body says no. It's showing up when your bank account says you're failing. It's silence. It's doubt. It's sweat no one sees and effort no one praises. But that's where champions are carved. Muhammad Ali once said, "I hated every minute of training. But I said, don't quit. Suffer now and live the rest of your life as a champion." That is the mindset that separates the few from the forgotten. And listen, this is important: success is not just about achievement. It's about alignment. You can't fake alignment. You can't say you want greatness while living a life of compromise. You can't say you're committed and then ghost your goals every time life gets loud. Because life will get loud. Life will throw bills, heartbreaks, losses, betrayal, illness, uncertainty, and chaos in your path. And that's exactly when the 3% rise, not because they enjoy pain, but because they've trained for it. They've conditioned their mind to ask one question, no matter what hits them: what is this here to teach me? That's the question of the elite. They don't crumble under pressure. They learn from it. They don't beg for lighter burdens. They develop stronger backs. When others panic, they pause. When others whine, they work. They aren't lucky. They are prepared. And that preparation starts with the most underrated superpower in the world: clarity. The 97% move without it. They want more money, but they don't know how much or why. They want a better life, but can't define what that looks like. They live in a fog, chasing feelings instead of outcomes. But the 3%? They build blueprints. They don't wake up hoping for a good day, they create it. They don't set resolutions, they make decisions. They don't wander, they build with intent. They write down what they want with ruthless specificity. They define their ideal day, ideal income, ideal body, ideal relationships, not as fantasy, but as targets. Because what you cannot define, you cannot create. Clarity is the foundation. Without it, effort is wasted. A plane that doesn't know where it's going will burn all its fuel and never leave the ground. So here's the truth most don't want to face: if your life feels stuck, scattered, or stagnant, it's not because the world is unfair. It's because you haven't decided what you truly want, and who you're willing to become to have it. Your results are not a reflection of your desires. They're a reflection of your standards. And your standards are set not by your words, but by your daily rituals. The 3% don't wait for inspiration. They engineer their state. They control what they feed their mind. They choose their inputs like a sniper chooses ammunition. No mindless scrolling. No toxic environments. No leaky boundaries. No emotional junk food. They understand that the brain, like the body, becomes what it consumes. Garbage in, garbage out. Power in, power out. So they guard their attention like it's gold. Because it is. And when adversity hits, and it will, they don't fold. They adapt. Adaptability is the 3%'s silent weapon. They don't marry their plans. They marry their mission. Plans will break. Paths will change. But their purpose stays unshaken, like a compass in a hurricane. They pivot. They learn. They evolve. While the 97% see failure as a dead end, the 3% see it as a detour. While the 97% blame circumstances, the 3% take full ownership. While the 97% drown in setbacks, the 3% build from them. And over time, while the world is watching Netflix, while friends are partying, while the average are complaining, the 3% are working. Crafting. Sharpening. Sacrificing. Building a life that becomes so solid, so powerful, so aligned, that success isn't an accident, it's inevitable.